Like if we got rid of all the demons, would we be okay? So a question I have for you, talking about angels and demons and sort of the things that influence us. There's a spirit of the age, right? There's all sorts of spirits in the sense that there are things that compel us, things that drive us, things that grab our attention. Um, some good and some not so good, and some things that start out as good, right? But then you drive towards them with too much and you ignore other things, and a virtue can become a vice in the same kind of way. Do you see people, humans, as being sinful or as being capable of doing wrong as separate from being influenced to do wrong?
I think it's both and.
Hmm. Like if we got rid of all the demons, would we be okay? Like, yeah.
So my theory, I kind of borrow this theory from Michael Heiser, my
Hmm.
theology professor, but his theory is that if demons had not decided to try to influence humanity to sin, their definition of sin kind of contained that, had this fallen angel influence to try to get people to corrupt themselves or worship them or something. If we didn't have that outside influence, I think we would still make a mix of good and bad decisions.
Hmm.
We might still corrupt ourselves, and that's almost inevitable. I think that's just a part of being human, but
I've
it
heard
would
some
happen
Christians
slower.
call that like sins of the flesh, um, as like something about being
Oh,
human gives us some sort of predilection towards sinful behavior.
it's almost like there's categories of sin. There's like sin that you're manipulated to do, and
Mm,
of course you still have some responsibility because you still made a choice.
right.
But there's sin that just comes from us wanting to do something that maybe isn't the best.
Hmm. Hmm. When I first bought my house, I'm in my house right now. I love my house. It's great. Um, I wasn't a great homeowner. It's my first house I'd ever owned. I didn't quite take care of it the way you probably should. I wasn't like mowing the grass as often as I could. I was also by myself, right? It's really hard to take care of a larger house by yourself. And you could think about that as like I was sinning as a homeowner. I was missing the mark, right? The archery term. One thing I think about with that is, well, part of the reason I sinned in that moment, no one was tempting me. Like it was, it wasn't like my neighbor was saying, "Hey, shouldn't mow your lawn. Don't do that." It was laziness. I was tired, or I just didn't think about that. That's the thing. I didn't think about it. I didn't notice my attention. Right? Where's my attention? I didn't notice that it was a problem. Why are all these dirty dishes here? I didn't notice it was a problem. And so the weird idea that I have here is that an element of sinful behavior outside of being tempted is knowledge. It's like what are you attuned to paying attention towards? What have you built up your behavior to? And so it's like, well, we're all children at some point. We're all starting off at some zero level and trying to work up to something. I'm a much better homeowner now than when I started. And I think sin and following Christ is a similar to that analogy, where it's like even separate from demons and from those kind of temptations, it's like you're gonna fall on your own. Even doing your best, you're gonna fall on your own. The question is, are you gonna get back up?
Hmm.
And
Like Batman Begins.
like
Why do we fall, Bruce?
and puts his hand down there. He's like, I'm right here with you. I'm gonna come down. I'm gonna pick you up. Do you know who Toby Mac is?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
From you
Christian
guys,
singer songwriter. Really? We introduced you to him?
I believe so. Well,
That's
he
fine.
was in DC Talk, wasn't he?
That's right. That's right. He was really
Because I
fun.
knew DC Talk, but I didn't know him solo until you guys played a couple of their songs. You and your brother.
That was funny. I always enjoyed his stuff growing up. But I got to see him in concert once, and he has a couple parts in his show where he does sort of a gospel kind of sermon kind of thing. He gets everyone really excited. And one of the things he talked about was, it's like, no matter where you are in your walk in your life, there may be a whole field of muck and mire and terrible things in between you and Christ. It's like you call to him, he comes to you. You don't have to walk through all that to get to him. He comes right to you, and he's going to walk with you through all that. You don't get to just get lifted up out of it. That's the thing, though. You still got to walk through it, but maybe he'll carry you through it, through parts of it. It's like a father and a son. You don't want your son, your child. There's an innocence to them and a fragility to them, and you value that, but you don't want them to be that forever. When a 2 or 3 year old falls because they're kind of toddling around, it's cute, and you pick them back up and set them right, and he's like, all right, do it again, try it again. When you're 20, it's not the same thing. you should be able to stand up straight on your own 2 feet. And I really do believe that's the one of the essences of following Christ, is that iteration of, I'm going to stand up and I'm going to do the best I can, and at some point I'm going to fall over, but I know he's going to be there with me to help me back up.
I mean, that's a much more gracious look at sin and how to deal with it than what we see in movies and sometimes from people. There's kind of
Yeah,
this, we're going to
if you
judge
sin,
you. Like,
you're burning in hell for all of eternity. And
yeah, I mean, well, one, how's that really helpful? But
right, who's going to listen to that?
yeah, and then you still got people debating, well, whether or not sin exists and whether or not it affects us, and well, are there levels of sin, and maybe they're being talked at like they've done something really, really awful, but yet they're not sure there even is sin yet. So
Right.
I think what you're describing is a much better way to look at it. It's like we do
Yeah.
stuff because we lack knowledge. Um, Sometimes we do just make choices that maybe in the future we'd look back and we'd say, I would have done something different then. But it's a lot better to like try to help pick someone up
Hmm.
than it is to, stand over them and be like, pick yourself up or be destroyed, or, you know.
Well, so thank you for reminding me of how I started that, because there was one more thing I was trying to get to with that point, which was the knowledge part. I do not believe for 1 second that your intelligence makes you more or less qualified or more or less close to Christ. Not for a
Mm-hmm.
second. There's plenty of smart, terrible people in the world. And there's plenty of people who aren't very educated, don't know a lot of things, who are some of the wisest, best models of Christianity that I've ever encountered. And I don't know what to do with that contradiction exactly, because you should read the Bible, you should push yourself and educate yourself as much as possible to understand the world and your place, and the lessons that are trying to be taught. But there's something about, like, you can understand those things without explicitly knowing them, and I don't quite know what I mean when I say that, but I also know that it's true, and that's
Yeah.
something that I'm exploring and trying to understand more of.
I can think of an example too in the Bible of that.
Yeah.
That guy named Nahum, the leper.
Neymar, I don't know this one.
Can't remember what book that's in. Maybe Kings.
Old Testament.
Yeah. Jesus used him as an example of a Gentile, a non Jew who was saved.
Hmm.
And that guy lived in a country that had no access to scripture. He had no Bible, basically. So all
Okay.
this guy does is he meets one of the prophets, believes in God, and then goes back to his hometown. And he has no chance to keep growing, or he can grow from his experience, but he can't study and get the knowledge from the Bible. That
Right.
guy is saved. So I think that's fascinating because, I mean, I think studying has been huge for me. It's been very
Mhm.
important to me. But I also have to remember, like, well, that guy doesn't have anything. And Jesus
So
used him as an example. Yeah.
so here's the question then. What is growing in you when you walk the Christ life? If it's not your education, if it's not your intellect, what is being built? And the best I'm able to say so far is your character. That is who you are when everything else is stripped away from you. You know, maybe that's your soul, but your character. Um,
Yeah.
are you courageous? Are you noble? Are you kind? You know, are you all those things to the appropriate amount? Do you balance those things correctly? Are you virtuous and honest?
Those are the things that I think maybe are part of the soul, or that you're growing that part of the soul. Because my theory, and the reason I think that, is because when you die, when the body goes away, if you are more than your body, those things are still going to be there, which I think is kind of fascinating. So, like, there is something you can do that will transcend this life
Hmm.
potentially.
Right. Absolutely. I absolutely believe that. And, you know, that's not an excuse, like, not to work hard at, like, earthly things. It's actually an exploration of them, right? It's like, oh, I can't focus on my job right now. I can't focus on my family right now. I have to work on my character. It's like, no, 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 no. That's not,
You just
you're
gave me the best
misunderstanding.
excuse to miss work.
That's, you know, it maybe your mission, your purpose in life is to be the best provider that you can be for your family. And there is nobility in that and sacrifice. It's like, I could have been some, you know, amazing singer or something like that. But instead, I chose to do something stable and to raise my family. And I think that's amazing because then you can sing to your kids. And what a beautiful moment. God didn't put us on earth to ignore earthly things. Some other religions are very ethereal, right? Buddhism comes to mind, where, like, the whole goal of it is to remove yourself so completely from the bounds of earthly experience that you're just spirit. This goes back to the marriage thing that I was talking about earlier of heaven and earth. Spirit and body, they're united, and they're voluntarily united. They're united in Christ, in God. They're united in us. We are both body and spirit. And you have to be, to live life rightly is to be a good steward of both of those things. And so, how do you develop your courage? Well, you do courageous things in life. How do you develop your honesty? Will you be honest in your work, in your marriage, in your relationships? It's like they are so intrinsically connected. I don't believe you can separate them really. And so, to chase after if you chase after just earthly things and ignore the spiritual aspect, you're a hedonist, right? You're just chasing pleasure. I'm
Mhm.
going to drink all I want and do all the drugs I want. I'm not going to work that hard. Who cares about that? It doesn't bring me pleasure. Anytime I start feeling bad, I'm going to chase after those things. That's that's hedonism. But if you just chase after spiritual things and ignore yourself, your body, your family, the people around you, well, one, that's super selfish. Um, but it's also it's ignorant, right? Like, you have a body. You are not a body, but you have one, and that's the thing that's been given to you. And it's like, how well are you going to take care of this? That's why I everyone should go to the gym. I'm sorry, but that's just true. Everyone should do something to better the vehicle with which they're able to act in the world. Make yourself eat better, go to the gym, have that courage to be ambitious and to, chase after that promotion at your job. Be the best person you know how to be. And yeah, you're going to fail at some points. Get back up. Get back up.
How would you help people with spiritual things if you're not, one, aware of them, but two, I mean,
Mm,
the things you described put you in a position to come in contact with people and be able to point them to the spiritual or to help them
right. You're
understand
not
it.
noticing them. Yeah.
Yeah, but if you're disengaged from the earthly things, well, then you may not be coming into those situations or relationships to be able to, as we've talked about, God's goal, bring people back into the family. You might not have those opportunities to help people see the family that they're meant to be a part of and bring them back into it if you're not that engaged in both the spiritual and the earthly.
Mm.
It's the whole two worlds thing and their relationship to each other. It's like the Matrix. Neo can't help people until
You're
he's in
not. You're
both worlds.
absolutely right. I mean, that's you're living in a world that's disconnected from your body in the
Hmm.
Matrix, right? It's a world of the mind, and you can lose yourself in that and be distracted and be a slave in that world.
A battery for aliens. Machines. Yeah, they're machines, not
It
aliens.
was so dumb that they made it a battery thing. That doesn't work. It should have been a neural net. The reason we have all these humans in this interconnected thing was a neural net. That would somewhat make
Oh,
sense. As a battery, it's like, come on.
you need to reboot the Matrix. Matrix 5. It'll be
Matrix.
a reboot written by you.
The first one's a classic. I'm happy with that
Love
one.
it. Love it.
But it's absolutely true. You're more than just what you see. You're and you're more than just yourself, right? Like I'm getting married next year. I'm really happy about that. As soon as that happened, that we got engaged, it's like, wow, I'm not making decisions just for myself anymore. Like we are a unit, and it grows as you get a family and in a community and stuff. And it's the most unselfish thing in the world to lose yourself in that, to voluntarily lose yourself in that. And it's a beautiful thing too.
You lose something to gain something.
That's right. That's right.
I'm a newlywed, so I'm kind of experiencing that right now.
Congratulations. I'm really happy for you too, man. That's so cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you got to meet her too.
I know we had so much fun when you were here.
Keep wanting to buy an outdoor pool like you have the blow up pool on Amazon. 150
We
bucks.
It was so hot this summer. It was so miserable sitting. We got rid of it, unfortunately.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's. I'll tell you what, though, it is really nice. Maybe in Kansas, it's a bit better. Not quite as hot as it was down
I'll
here.
get one. You can come visit me.
Perfect. I'll look forward to it.